Bula, I'm Kalden Khmer, and welcome to my podcast. In this week's podcast, I'm going to be talking about the Yellow Ribbon Program rehabilitation of Namatakula villager Amenoni Nasilasila. He played over 100 HSBC Sevens games for Fiji from 2014 until 2019, when his career was interrupted by the fact that he was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment by High Court Judge Justice Daniel Gounder for the rape of a 24-year-old woman. It's a sad story, and one which has generated heated debate on social media and around the tānoas all around Fiji and in homes like mine, because of the fact that last weekend Nasilasila played Sevens rugby for the Warden's Sevens team in the Fun Flavour Super Sevens series in Nadi. Both the Fiji Minister of Women, Rosie Akbar, and the Fiji Women's Crisis Centre Coordinator, Shamima Ali, voiced their very strong statements against Nasilasila and the Fiji Corrections Service about him playing in that tournament. Among other things, Minister Akbar said that what the Fiji Corrections Service did was shocking and a mockery of the justice system. Akbar also said that it was a very serious crime, and as such, privileges given to a serving prisoner convicted of such a heinous crime is just not on, and it sent the wrong message to the community. Akbar went on to say that the ministry strongly condemns this and reiterated that any convicted person loses all benefits and freedoms to participate until they have fully served their sentence. She said that in this case, Nasilasila is still convicted, still serving a sentence, and that he should not have any further involvement in rugby until he has completely served his sentence. Fiji Women's Crisis Centre Coordinator Shamima Ali said Nasilasila is a convicted rapist, and it is beyond belief that the Fiji Corrections Service has allowed him to play in the Warden's side. She stressed that this is sending out a terrible message to rapists. And Ali added, rape is a heinous crime, and once a person is convicted, they need to serve out their sentence, not be allowed to play rugby at their leisure. She further added that rape is one of the most underreported crimes in Fiji, which they believe only 5% of the total number of cases in the country are actually reported. Very sad statistic. And she added that 95% of survivors live with this in silence while the perpetrators walk free. Well, I'm sorry, but I cannot fully agree. I agree totally with the ladies that rape is a heinous crime, but I also believe in justice and mercy. I have one daughter and 4 granddaughters, and I deeply appreciate the sensitivities and the anger expressed by these women about this case. And I understand that the Minister and Shamima Ali, who is a long-time champion of women's rights in Fiji and a loud, respected voice for women and violence against women in our country. But Amenoni Nasilasila is not the first prisoner to play rugby for Wardens. This practice goes back to the 1980s, as far as I can recall, when a former Fiji centre was playing club rugby after being convicted of rape. I also remember former National Sevens coach Ben Ryan at the Pacific Energy Ovalau Sevens in 2015. He took an interest in a Warden's player there, and on further inquiry was told that the guy was a serving prisoner, and so Ben Ryan had to end his interest in hopefully picking him for Fiji. Then there was the rehabilitation of the notorious Alifrete Nimadere, also a criminal. I was the general manager of Fiji Rugby League, and we had an office in Cummings Street next door to Procera Music Studio. And once a week, Nimadere used to be brought in handcuffs, accompanied by a couple of prison wardens, to come and play his music, play the keyboards and sing and be recorded. And that was way back, in Fiji in the early 90s. A female prisoner more recently was able to pursue her interest in fashion design with Fiji Fashion Week, going out of the prison compound to do this before she was released. And so it's not only males but also females. And I remember once going to see Commissioner of Prisons, Wally Smith, in his office at the prison compound here in Suva, in Wallu Bay. And there was a big tano of kava, and the kava was served to us all in the office by a serving prisoner at that time. The point I want to make is, in the heat of the moment about this case and the spotlight on Amanoni Nasilasila, because of his high profile, that we should be very careful not to throw the baby out with the water. Nasilasila is not the first, I reiterate again, not the first and only serving prisoner to be given this privilege, and I hope he isn't the last. The Fiji Corrections Service Rehabilitation Program, the Yellow Ribbon Program, has been ongoing for decades and successfully helped so many prisoners to make it back into society. It's an ongoing, thankless task which the wardens and the staff carry out diligently with the help of psychologists, qualified psychologists and doctors. And in our society in Fiji, as you would appreciate, the stigma of being convicted is, can be overwhelming. And I feel that all of the heightened awareness brought to this case of Amanoni Nasilasila by all the media coverage and on social media is only reinforcing the stigma on the prisoners. The Yellow Ribbon Program, as it is known now, reports that less than 2% of prisoners who go through this, all prisoners go through the Yellow Ribbon Program, less than 2% reoffend and end up back in jail. And that's amazing for our country, to think that they have such a high success rate, and prisoners who are rehabilitated under this program, like Amanoni Nasilasila, end up not reoffending and returning to jail. And it's a lot of work. It's a very, very much a lot of effort around and about the prisoners, not inside the prison, but outside with their families, with the communities. And in some cases, the Corrections Unit of Fiji, Corrections Service of Fiji rather, help in contacting the victims and trying to help them out as well as they come to terms with what has happened to them. So it's both sides of the coin. It's bigger than just Amanoni Nasilasila. It involves hundreds of other prisoners, also female as well, to help them get back into society. And that's my point today, that I think too much attention, unwanted and unwarranted, has been brought against Amanoni Nasilasila, and because of his high profile. But he's just one of many prisoners who are undergoing this ongoing process to help let them work their way back into society as easily as possible. As I said at the very beginning, it's all about justice and mercy. And justice has been served. He has been sentenced. He is locked up in prison. And after 2 years serving now, he's out playing rugby as part of his program to rehabilitate him back into society. And Amanoni Nasilasila is just one of many, many prisoners who are going through this process. Remember, the corrections and the whole prison system in Fiji is a dumping ground for the human resource that, fall foul of the law, or end up, people like you and I who have made mistakes in their lives, and for whatever reason, incarcerated and held in prisons in Fiji. But one day they're going to come back out, because at the end of the day, like you and me, they belong to the wider community, to our country. And really what we should be focusing on for them is that they can come back into society, be welcomed back, and help to rehabilitate and help to reintegrate, so that they become useful, contributing members of society. But by stigmatizing them and wanting to throw away the key for the whole of their term, and only allow them out when they've served their term, is in the long term not going to do any good for any of us. And in fact, you'll find in that situation, which is a very old-fashioned way of locking up prisoners, and the whole concept of throwing the key away and punishing them until it's time to release them, you're only putting out into society a guy who knows nothing more than the 4 cells of his prison, and the imprisonment of his mind and his ambition and his spiritual life. he's a dead man walking when he comes back out. And in the end, we pay a higher price for that poor treatment of a fellow human being. So I'm saying, and I really do believe, and I respect the two women, Shamima Ali and the Minister of Women, Rosie Akbar. I respect their views, I respect their anger. As I said, I have a daughter and 4 granddaughters, and this is a very emotional subject and sensitive subject for me as well, because it is something that, you know, you hope never ever comes across your family member, any female or male member of your family, to be a victim of this crime. But we all have to show mercy. Once the guy has been sentenced, or the female person has been convicted and sentenced, well, you lock them up and you discipline them and you go through the whole process, which the correction service in Fiji have been trained to do, and their qualified wardens who are working with these prisoners go through this whole program with them. And I've taken the trouble to be briefed on it by them, because I wanted to understand it better, but I've also witnessed it with my own eyes at Namboro Corrections facility, where they have set up a lot of the Yellow Ribbon program for serving prisoners to improve their skills, improve their feeling of self-worth, and so that when the time comes for them to be released, the whole program of pre-release kicks into play. The wardens visit their homes, talk to their families. The prisoners are allowed out for a day just to meet their family again and start to reintegrate, and with the village community or the family, and so that when the time comes, that whole re-entering society after years of lockup in prison is a smooth one, is a welcome one, is an emotional one, and that's how you help these people get back into society and end up on the right side of the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's really all I wanted to say about this, just to help give it a different perspective, just to help promote the Yellow Ribbon program more and give it more credit than I think it's been getting lately in the media, and to say that you know, there's more than just one prisoner, Amanoni Nasilasila, undergoing the Yellow Ribbon program, and it's fair and it's transparent for all prisoners, not only him, but all prisoners are going through this program to help them re-enter society. And so I ask you all to please support the Yellow Ribbon program walk, which will be on the 23rd of April this year. They had 8,000 people walking with them last year, to show your support for this very worthwhile program, which I hope continues for many years to come, and positively impacts the many prisoners in Fiji for many years to come. This is Carlton Kamer for TeVovoRugby.com. Thank you very much.